What's up, friends, fellow car collectors? Card Obvious here, and we made it. The end of 2020 is upon us. Been a tough year for a lot of folks out there. Definitely hasn't been a great year. Probably for most of us because of what we had to endure this year for the most part, with the pandemic. Changing what we were used to in life, I guess you could say. When it shut down sports back in March, for us sports fans out there, it just kind of felt like this huge hit. And sports aren't the end all be all of happiness or anything like that. There's a lot of people lost lives this year because of the pandemic, which is tough. And I feel for everybody that's lost a loved one or, has been dealing with any issues related to the pandemic or anything like that. I feel for you. So it's been a tough year for a lot of folks. But we made it to the end. I mean, just because the clock or the calendar switches over to 2021 doesn't mean all our problems all of a sudden go away. But the end of the year is a demarcation of something new, which is a new year, which is nothing but a number, to tell you the truth. But it should always be something that's either celebrated or looked forward to, for the most part. But yeah, so if anybody out there had a rough 2020, I feel for you. Mine wasn't the best either. So it is what it is. You got to keep your head up, like Tupac said, keep your head up, and keep plugging forward and take care of each other. There's a lot of divide, especially when you read like on social media and stuff. There's just so much divide in everything. Sports, the hobby, any hobby for that matter. There's just a divide there, and people aren't cordial online like they are face to face. I think a lot of people say things online they wouldn't say when you're having a conversation with somebody, and that's tough. And when you're talking about like even things like politics, which is right now some of the most divisive we've ever had that I can remember. I don't remember politics being this divided. There's always been, division, that's for sure. But I don't ever remember politics being this dividing, as it is this year. As far as the vitriol, and I don't think, I can't say that it wasn't this divided before, but I think, it being in your face due to everybody being connected on the internet and all that, it definitely gives you the feeling that it's more divided. But you don't know because, interactions on the internet aren't like interactions in real life. So, you don't have tone on the internet. You don't have tone. Sure, you can have tone in a video, but it's one person talking to a camera. And sure, there's video conferencing and all that. And even with video conferencing, you don't pick up on those little cues. As human beings, when we're having an interaction face to face, and you're speaking with a person that's directly across from you, you pick up on social cues. You pick up on body language. You're not doing it, consciously. It's part of your subconscious. It's from being a human being your whole life. You pick up on those cues. You pick up on those interactions. And it makes us more human towards each other. And you lose some of that when you're going through video, like a video chat or a Zoom meeting or anything like that. And then you lose it even more when you're going down into text. You lose tone whatsoever 100% in text. And that's a really tough way to communicate. It's okay to communicate that way. You can get information across. But when it comes down to like dialogue and arguments and discussions about issues or whatever, it's too easy for it to devolve down the funnel into an argument where people are coming from different sides of something, and their bases are sound, both of them. And, sure, there's an answer there, but it gets so divisive and so toxic. And, would you really say some of the things that you read on the internet to somebody else, face to face? If you're having, a conversation with somebody, I don't think you would. Some people might, but I don't think you would. And I don't think face-to-face interactions would devolve into, the arguments that you see on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. It's, reading that stuff's depressing. Just don't let it work you up. You know, if you're into social media and stuff like that, and you're big into politics or, you know, any hobby or anything like that that has divisive sides or gatekeeping of some sort, don't, you know, if it makes you angry reading it, stop reading it. It's just making you unhappy. And then when you're unhappy and you get on the internet and you say things, you know, that might be hurtful for somebody else, you're making them unhappy. And it's kind of like a vicious cycle of unhappiness. Have you ever heard the term, you know, like somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed, right? Or, you know, what's wrong with you? Somebody pissed in your cornflakes this morning. You know, that's a, you know, a popular saying. What I'm saying is don't be the one to piss in somebody else's cornflakes, you know, because then it's an endless cycle. You know, you piss in somebody else's cornflakes, they want to piss in your cornflakes. And they want to piss in somebody else's cornflakes, you know, because they want to bring people down to their level of anger, to their level of hatred, or, you know, or their level of misery. You know, we gotta stop tearing each other down on the internet. And, you know, this isn't really a personal story in any ways. It's just a general feeling I get when I read, you know, Facebook or Twitter. It's one of the reasons I quit reading Facebook a while back. And, you know, because Facebook to me was just this fake platform where people would put out the best things that they were doing and all that. And other people were, you know, comparing themselves. And, you know, it's so much like Keeping Up with the Joneses, but it was on, you know, Facebook. You know, it wasn't about, you know, the Joneses bought a nice BMW, so I need to buy a, you know, nicer car because they just bought a nice BMW next door. It's the same thing on, like, Facebook, which is why I quit Facebook a long time ago. It was like, you know, people are just posting on there almost like trying to outdo, to one up anything they've seen there before, you know. And it's, we all got our lives. We all we all have the good and the bad part of living. It's just the way it is. Nobody's life is perfect. Nobody has a perfect life. Sure, some people are in a higher income echelon and, you know, they have nicer things or could take nicer trips, but they have issues just like everybody else, you know. Oh, put your pants leg on one leg at a time. We got to stop trying to tear each other down through social media, through, you know, even videos. Just move on, you know. It's this thing that, like, we get hung up on something, and, you know, when you're on Twitter, it's like you've given everybody a platform to shout out, and everybody, you know, can listen to you and stuff, but it's not. It's I mean, if you want to emulate Twitter in real life, get a room full of people, right? Get a room full of people, stand up and say something that that could be divisive, right? Just say something, you know, and then step down off the stage or podium or whatever, and go to each person and let them give you 180 characters to say something to you. All right, and then when that's done, move on to the next person and continue that through a whole room of 100 people. What kind of chaos would that create in a real life situation? And that's what you got with Twitter, which is why political discussions on Twitter, any discussions for that matter on Twitter, trying to prove a right or a wrong, or trying to prove this belief versus that belief, or, you know, me versus you, or he versus he, or them versus them, or whatever, is just the totally wrong platform to have discussions. Those need to be by voice and preferably in person. You know, video conferencing is better than text, but it's still not the same as person to person. And, you know, I just think we need to build each other up some more. Just quit tearing each other down, moving forward. You know, everybody's entitled to their own beliefs and opinions. And just because they're different than yours doesn't mean you need to be torn down. And they don't need to be torn down either because they don't agree with you. Don't tear each other down because people have different beliefs or different, you know, political platforms, or, you know, different thoughts on the hobby. Just don't tear each other down in the process of trying to prove your own point. There's nothing to gain out of that, you know, to tear each other down. And that's what's depressing to me about social media, is it could be something, the simplest thing, you know, a discussion going on social media about, you know, retail hobby stuff or grading, or, you know, selling platforms on eBay, and it always devolves into an argument at some point. Somebody makes, you know, a statement about this is what, you know, they believe should happen, and then somebody contradicts that, and then there'll be this whole subthread in there of two people arguing back and forth, and then start making accusations about each other in the subthread. And I'm like, wow, this is this isn't what, you know, it should be on social media, but it is what it is. I think I've rambled about social media enough and about us tearing each other down. Just be good to each other. You gotta remember, we're all human beings. You know, we're all living this life, and we all have our ups, we all have our downs. Just don't try to bring everybody to your downs with you. You know, some people are on their ups while you're on your downs. You may be on an up while somebody else is on their down. You don't know what anybody is dealing with at any point in time. You know, don't make assumptions. Assumptions are terrible. Don't assume you know somebody just because they believe a certain thing, or they pull for a certain team, or they like a certain player or a certain TV show, or listen to a certain type of music. Don't assume that you know them. I know our human brains like to categorize things, but we tend to dump a lot of assumptions into things, and it takes active thinking to overcome that, you know, to dump an assumption. You know, if you assume you know everything about a person when you only know, you know, one or two facts about them, is a bad thing, and that can lead to, you know, stereotyping somebody, or you know, just arguing in bad faith because you're assuming you know everything about that other person, you know how they think and all that. But yeah, the rant's over. Let's talk sports. So let's talk about, the Braves in 2020, they made it to NLCS. That's awesome. They signed some good pitchers in Smiley and Morton, and I think those are going to be awesome. Really excited to see how the young pitchers develop. Ian Anderson, Soroka, Max Fried, very strong young core. Bryce Wilson looked great in the playoffs. I think their pitching is pretty solid. Bullpen should still be solid next year. And I'm a big believer in today's game. It's all about the bullpen, right? I mean, you got to look at the championship series. You were looking at some of the best bullpens in the game in the championship series, and the Dodgers, Braves, Rays all had amazing bullpens. So that's the way the game is moving. Starting pitching is one thing. I think bullpens are even more important now than they've ever been, because starting pitching doesn't pitch very deep. Having a stacked bullpen is huge in baseball right now, and you know, I just think it's even gotten more important over the years. So, you know, teams with the better bullpens, if they have enough offense to carry them through, I could see, you know, it again at the end of 2021, you know, going into the championship series, you're going to see 4 teams with 4 of the best bullpens. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I think if the Braves can take care of their bullpen, they'll be fine. San Diego is building up a lot of, you know, stacking talent there with their starters. Los Angeles is still a strong team. Yankees are still a strong team. It'll be interesting to see. You know, Mets are willing to spend when they went with James McCann, and yeah, so like, you know, they got a great pitching staff there as well. So, and their offense isn't terrible up there in New York. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. A lot of teams got a lot better so far. Free agency's moving at a snail's pace. You don't know where a lot of these players are going to be playing next year. Minor leagues have all gotten shuffled up, so a lot of minor league teams are going to be out. It sucks for, you know, the cities that have minor league teams, but I mean, to tell you the truth, it was a lot of them. It was a lot of minor league teams. But yeah, I'm really happy because my local minor league team is now an affiliate of my favorite major league team, which I think is freaking awesome. You know, for the longest time, you know, the Augusta Green Jackets were an affiliate with the Giants, and before that they were an affiliate with the Pirates. But then they changed their name to the Green Jackets when they were no longer affiliated with the Pirates, because they used to be the Augusta Pirates, but are now the Green Jackets, and they are now the low A team of the Braves, which I think is freaking awesome. So looking forward to hopefully, you know, if the pandemic passes enough, if the vaccines take hold or whatever, and people are starting to get out and about again, and events start happening. I'm looking forward to attending some minor league Green Jackets games today. You know, with some of the Braves farm system there, it'd be interesting to see. What else? Okay, Dolphins. Yeah, Dolphins still playing. We got a game this weekend against the Bills. It's pretty much a playoff game for the Dolphins. Yeah, there's other scenarios where they can make it in the playoffs if certain teams lose and they're automatically in. But, you know, why put it on that? Win and you're in. You know, that's the way I like to look at it. You can't control what other teams do. You only control what you can do as a player. So, you know, you can't focus on what, you know, another team's going to do. I'd rather win and get in than to back into the playoffs. You know, prove that you're there. It's going to be a tough task because they play the Bills, and the Bills are really good this year. Really good. Josh Allen's really impressed me this year with his play. Definitely playing elite quarterback quality football play this year. So that'll be interesting to see. I'd love to see the Dolphins in the playoffs. It's been a few years since we've been there. Last time we were there, we were rolling with Matt Moore as our quarterback, and we were playing the Steelers, and we pretty much knew that was going to be a loss from the get-go. And I think Matt Moore got knocked out of that game, too, with a concussion. Yeah, that was the year that Tannehill was out for this season with a knee injury, I believe. Yeah, but, I mean, they've been playing great. I love the way the defense plays. Tua and Fitzpatrick are kind of flip-flopping. Tua has, like, bad games, and then they bring Fitzpatrick in to kind of finish it up and give the offensive spark. And a lot of people are, like, against that. I'm not. I mean, you know, you're a football player. I realize a lot of people say these quarterbacks have, you know, fragile egos and stuff, but you're still a player on the team. You're still a player on the team. I don't care if you're a quarterback, if you're a left tackle, a linebacker, a safety, a wide receiver, cornerback, whatever position on the team you play, kicker, punter. If you're not performing, you're probably going to get pulled out of the game. But for some reason, it's so different with a quarterback. With a quarterback, you got to be all, you know, you got to touch them with kid gloves, right? You know, you can't pull out a quarterback in the middle of a game. Why not? If a quarterback's not having a good game, pull them. Put them on the bench. With any other sport, you'd be pulled out, you know. If you're an offensive lineman and you're getting beat bad constantly the whole game, they're going to put you on the bench and they're going to put in your backup to see if they can perform a little bit better for the rest of the game. I mean, that's just the way sports is. And I don't understand why, you know, quarterbacks are any different. You're a starting pitcher and you're getting lit up in the first inning. You're not going to have much rope to keep playing like that, you know. And you go out in the second inning, you start putting people on base, you're going to be gone. From that game, they're going to bring in the bullpen, pitch the rest of the game. It's no different, but yet with quarterbacks in the NFL, it's like you can't pull them in the middle of the game. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you're messing up Tua because you're pulling him in the middle of the game." No, Tua's been having bad games, and that's why they're pulling him, putting Fitzpatrick in. And it's only happened twice. It's not like it's happened over and over again. It happened in the Denver Broncos game, which Miami lost, and it happened in the Raiders game, which Miami should have lost. Notwithstanding, that was actually a really good game. But, you know, Fitzpatrick came in, and, I mean, that was a miracle throw right there. The face mask throw, that was a miracle throw. That's something that 99% of the time does not happen. When the quarterback gets face masked and just throws the ball straight up in the air, and it happens to land in a receiver's arms 30 yards downfield. That rarely happens. You have to have a lot of factors coming into play there for it to happen. But I'm super excited. Hope they make the playoffs. It'll be awesome to see the Dolphins at least make a wild card game. This year's been a success, whether they make it in or not. I really like Brian Flores as a coach. I think he's got a great thing building down there. And I look forward to seeing Tua develop. You know, I think he's got it to be a good quarterback. They need some more weapons. They're running with practice squad guys, a wide receiver, very, very banged up. But they need some playmakers. They need somebody who can stretch the field deep. Running back, Gaskins has looked better. But defense looks good right now. Still need some better linebacker play. Cornerback play has been really good. Secondary, overall has been really good. So, really pleased with the Dolphins this year. And it's not Super Bowl or bust for us. We're not we're not in that mode yet. For the Hurricanes had a disappointing season for the most part. They played a bowl game the other night against Oklahoma State. Looked like a blowout in the first quarter. Looked like it was just going to be a straight up blowout. They kept fighting, made it close. I mean, they had a chance to take a lead at the end of the game, but couldn't convert on fourth down. And that was pretty much the game over. There's some good things and there's some bad things. Miami looked a lot better on offense this year with Brett Lashley as offensive coordinator, but they looked a lot worse on defense this year. And people, a lot of things with college football is you don't get to see all the games. So if you're not a Hurricanes fan, you don't really see all the flaws. You might see an 8-1 record or a 7-1 record, 8-2 record, whatever, and assume that they're a really good team because their record's really good. Nah, it was the defense the whole year. You could see it. In games, NC State just was all over this defense. And of course, the North Carolina game where you had 500-something yards rushing to North Carolina. All right, there's a cut in the video there at a phone call. So what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the Canes. So, yeah, the defense really needs some work. I don't know if the defensive coordinator is going to be replaced with the performances the last few weeks. Definitely deserving of a replacement. So we'll see. They have a good recruiting class coming in next year. De'Aaron King's coming back, even though he got injured in the bowl game. He's coming back. So they got one of the top quarterbacks coming in from the nation this year, and Jake Garcia. Hopefully I want to see them just keep improving. They fixed the offense pretty much this year. Wide receivers definitely need to do better next year. Tight ends look great this year. Brevin Jordan and Will Mallory. I don't know if any of them are going to go to the draft. But yeah. So let's jump back to the Dolphins. I want to talk the draft for the Dolphins. So it's very funny because the Dolphins, depending on what happens this weekend, they're going to have a top 10 pick. If Houston loses, they're locking in the number 3 pick in the draft. Miami's going to have the number 3 pick in the draft next year if the Texans lose, which is hilarious because they had the number 5 pick the year before in a year when everybody said they were tanking at the start of the year. So they're going to have a higher draft pick in the next draft if the Texans lose, of course. Texans win, then they could be anywhere between 6 and 9 or whatever. It'll be a top 10 pick. But I want to talk about the draft pick if the Dolphins do end up with a number 3 pick. Who do the Dolphins draft? As a Dolphins fans, here's what I say. If the tackle from Oregon, Sewell, is available at number 3, I say you draft him. I'm a big proponent of you win in the lines, you win in the trenches, offensive and defensive line, 100% in the first round. I always say that. Now, the Dolphins have so much draft capital as far as picks. They can afford to reach if they wanted to and go with a wide receiver that early, but I wouldn't. So, if the Jets draft Sewell, which is a possibility that they don't go quarterback to replace Darnold, then I would like to see the Dolphins draft Sewell because I think he is the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I don't think he can pass that up. If the Jets do draft Sewell, I would like to see the Dolphins trade down a bit and then get a wide receiver in the top 10, hopefully. So I would like to see them trade down to build up more draft capital, which is one thing they don't need. They got plenty of draft capital. And then draft a wide receiver. I'm not going to go in depth on the Dolphins draft through all 7 rounds or whatever. I just want to talk about that first draft. If they end up with the number 3, then it's Sewell or trade down for me. I just wanted to say that because I've seen that discussion on Twitter, and a lot of people are saying, no, you got to take a wide receiver. You take a wide receiver at 3? I don't know. I'm the type of person that believes that you don't take anybody top 10 unless they're an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, or a quarterback. That's how I think. That's my football strategy right there. So, if there's not a dominant defensive lineman that's like a game changer, if there's not a quarterback that you need, and if there's not a offensive lineman that's at the top there, that's what you go with, and then you trade down. yeah, the Dolphins do need wide receivers big time, and I hope they pick some up. Running backs another area need, but I'm the type of person that's always hands off running backs in the first round. This isn't, the 1980s and 1990s where running backs, could go first and second and all that. Running backs tend to get pushed down the line for the most part because running games in the NFL aren't really valued anymore. Running backs are definitely not valued. They're pretty much replaceable parts in NFL offenses now, which sucks. You feel sorry for those guys. I think running backs should get paid more per year than most players because their careers are so much shorter. Nobody takes punishment like running backs do. That's tough. So I'd like to see running backs, kind of have a little bit of longevity in the league, but it's tough, man, because that is one hard position to play. And you're getting hit all the time. You're taking big hits. That's a very tough position to play, but, the way the league is now, I would not take a running back in the first round. I know there's, some good ones in ATN and Najee Harris. I don't see it being first round. Now, somebody like, McCaffrey, if you got a guy that's going to be a pass catcher, a punt returner, all everything, sure, draft him in the first round, Just make it later, first round. I think the first round is, like I said before, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and quarterbacks. That's just my thoughts. Sorry, I went from pro football to college football back to pro football. Yeah, I think I touched on all the sports. I talked about the Braves, I talked about the Dolphins, and I talked about the Hurricanes. NBA starting up. I'm a casual NBA fan. I don't know a whole lot about NBA. I don't watch it religiously. I catch a game here or there when I can. I am a Heat fan. They got blown out by the Bucks. I don't think Jimmy Butler played, but they got blown out by the Bucks. I think the Bucks were definitely trying to get back at them for knocking them out of the playoffs in the bubble. The Heat have a lot of room to improve. There was some talk about James Harden possibly ending up on the Heat, but I don't know. The Heat do weird things sometimes. Like they'll go all in, and then sometimes they just, whatever. I do love Spoelstra, and I think he's a great basketball coach. So, we'll see what they do. I know they haven't really had all the draft capital and all that because of trades and stuff like that. But I think they got a solid team with Hero and Duncan and Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. Sure, there's not a bona fide superstar on there. Adebayo can be really good. I'm not sold on him being, the next superstar in the league, but I think he's one of the top players in the league. I'd probably definitely put him, top 25. He is that good. He is really good. But yeah, so that's just general NBA talk from a casual nobody when it comes to NBA. Hockey, I don't know, man. I might actually start watching hockey again this year. I was a big, I wouldn't say big hockey fan back in the late 90s, but I watched hockey. I was down with some hockey back in the late 90s. Me being a Florida Panthers fan, it was never really good. But, I'd watch some hockey back in the day. I enjoyed watching it. But I just kind of fell off. I got bored with it. I might start watching hockey again. Basketball doesn't really do it for me when I watch basketball. It's hard for me to get into the flow of the game. Like the last 3 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes of a basketball game are exciting, if the game's close. But just watching a whole game from start to finish doesn't do it for me. Too much scoring, I guess. So I think that does it for my off the cuff. Pretty long one, and I just rambled and rambled and rambled. Talked over myself and talked in circles and repeated talking in those circles. That's what happens when you do stuff off the script, which I don't have a script. Looks like it's fixing to rain out here. It's gotten a little dark. Yeah, so once again, 2020 is over, folks. Or at least it will be in a few hours when you're watching this. If you're watching this in 2021, Happy New Year. If you're watching this in 2041, Happy New Year eventually. Or, if it's New Year's Eve in 2041, Happy New Year for 2042. But yeah, the year's been tough, but we made it through. I want to thank you all that have supported my channel. You know, since I started doing this again in 2019, you know, I'm getting close to 2 years on YouTube doing hobby stuff, and I really enjoy it. And I enjoy it because I'm basically just sharing something I love doing, you know, with a hobby with you. I enjoy making these videos, so, you know, the fact that I get a response on that, I really appreciate that. All your comments, hanging out with me on live streams, you know, it's just, it all gives me validation for continuing to do YouTube. And you know, I didn't have a goal when I started YouTube, really. I didn't say, oh, I'm gonna hit 1,000 subs and make, you know, $3,000 a month in ad revenue on my videos. That was never my goal, because, you know, I'm still at what, 550 subscribers right now. But yeah, it's not something I push. I really, you know, thank you to all 500 of you that are subscribed to me. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. It really does. You know, this is definitely my outlet for this hobby. I don't have anybody local that I share the hobby with. You know, Gary, Crazy for Cardboard, you know, he's cool, and, you know, we share, you know, enjoy the hobby, but he's way out there, you know, out in the sticks. But, you know, as far as, like, you know, everyday sharing with the hobby, it's YouTube, occasionally Twitter. But yeah, it's a fun way to share something that, you know, that I enjoy and that you all enjoy too. And it's good to know that sometimes you all enjoy watching me ramble aimlessly in a parking lot, into a camera talking to myself. Just to know that I'm actually talking to you. So for everybody out there, have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Take care of yourself. Don't drink and drive if you're drinking. Remember, there's still a pandemic out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. If you're on social media, treat each other like humans. And I will see you all next year. In 2021, we're just going to keep rolling on. Go Dolphins, go Canes, go Braves, go Heat. Go Florida Panthers, even though I don't have any high hopes for you in the NHL season. I might watch it. I don't know. Hope to see the Olympics also in 2021. Yes, that's one thing that you don't hear talked about anymore. We lost the Olympics this year. And I love the Olympics. The Summer Olympics is awesome. I love the Olympics. And we didn't have the Olympics this year because of the pandemic. So I look forward to that in 2021. Yeah, just remember, take care of yourselves and take care of others, and be awesome to each other, you know. What is it Bill and Ted said? Be excellent to each other. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to quit rambling. You all have a great evening and a great start to your new year. Peace.